Pillars of Entrepreneurship Virtual Summit. United Networks for Growth invites you to be part of a network that promotes holistic approach to entrepreneurship. We offer entrepreneurs specialized support in the areas of health, wealth, personal growth, and business development. And these are the 4 pillars of entrepreneurship. And I'm happy today with our guest speaker, Scott Armstrong from Scott Armstrong Limitless. Scott is a motivational keynote and workshops on entrepreneurship and thriving with disruptive innovation and individual performance development. He also produces online curriculum development and consulting, and he is a professional speaker and trainer. Thank you, Scott, for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here, Annie. It really is.
I'm so excited to have you with us on the virtual summit today, because I had a little conversation with you before, and I already get lots of takeaway from you. And I know today your topic is on the 4 stages of idea validation, which is very important for entrepreneurs, whether they're just startup or even for someone like me. I've been an entrepreneur for 30 years, but I always come up with idea, but I really still have to go through those process of knowing how to do the validations for those new ideas.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And you and I share a similar length of time of being with entrepreneurs. I started my journey about 30 years ago, and my journey was I was a banker out of university, a commercial credit officer, and I did the migration to the entrepreneurial world. I was bitten by the bug. And I went away and I thought about, if I could do anything at all, what would I want to do? And I had a degree from the Schulich School of Business there, just in York University. And what I wanted to do after all those finance courses and marketing courses is I wanted to work with wildlife, and which had nothing to do with my education, but I was able to go out and start and created Canada's largest endangered animal sanctuary, worked with lions and tigers, snakes and owls and wolves, and with Dr. David Suzuki and Jane Goodall, who does the chimpanzees in Gombe. And so I had a very early positive experience that if you put the right pieces in place, that you can actually grow a lot of businesses if the pieces are in place. And that's what I was really thrilled that you invited me on here today to talk about.
Yes, so you're choosing the lifestyle versus just a corporate job, like, you know, to follow your life purpose is being an entrepreneur and helping other entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. You know, the studies have shown, and I'm writing a book right now called Mind Switch or Retire Happy, and that, 70, 75%, I could throw any number at you, but the majority of people are not happy in their work, that they're feeling like they're trading their time for money and they can't wait to do their own thing. As entrepreneurs, you and I and the others who are listening here, we get to do that on a daily basis, and that can be really exciting and really scary at the same time.
Yes. Because life is too short to saying, I'll wait until I retire and then I'll leave my corporate job and then I'll live the life of retiring. Because of the time it might not happen because your health might have gone downhill before you get the chance.
Yeah, well, and a lot of people retire, they'll tell you they do it without a plan. I mean, we go to university, we invest 3 or 4 years or school or whatever. A lot of people retire without giving it much more than a glancing thought. They have no idea. So retirement very rarely turns out to be the excitement and the freedom that most people want. So entrepreneurship is something that you don't have to retire. You can change it, you can scale it, you can do a lot of things, but it gives you that life purpose to go forward if you love what you do, which is in fact what I find myself fortunate enough that I'm in that situation.
Yes, I can't wait to learn from you about these 4 stages of idea validation, because my life purpose changed since I'm now having an empty nest. My son already 25, left home 2 years ago, and
Yes.
I'm looking for a new lifestyle that I can travel around the world and still be working and enjoy life at the same time. So,
Well, it's a good thing. My consulting business, I spend 2 to 3 months on the beaches of Hawaii each I just got back last week and I'm going back in April. And I do most of my business via Zoom with my consulting clients. So, there's that lifestyle entrepreneurship, which some of your listeners might be interested in. There's also that I need to create a career for myself first, and establish a business going. And just before we get to those 4 stages of idea validation, a lot of entrepreneurs, when they think of a business, first off, they think of that dreaded 2-word phrase, which is called business plan. Doing a business plan. And my advice would be, after 30 years, is please do not do a business plan right away. That is not one of the early idea validations. A business plan can take weeks or months to prepare. And it's like testing the temperature of a bathtub before you get in. You don't drop your whole self into it. You just put your toes or your fingers in it and get a sense of what's there. So
yes.
Don't do a business plan. Even there's something called, and some of your listeners would be aware of, called a business canvas, which is a 1-page document that highlights your business model. That's sort of a second stage, if you will. But I want to take your listeners back even further. So if they're listening right now and they've got an idea and they want to see if it has any initial legs to it before they invest time and money, that's the kind of place that I'd like to start talking about, if that's okay with you.
Oh, yes. And actually, that's a lot of my ideas came up, and I just go out and do it and see if there is a market, if there is a need. And I go out to talk and also to network to see if there's an interest into it, right? Yes.
And for the listeners, if you haven't met Annie yet, when Annie and I talked earlier this week, she was telling me she is great. She has no shyness or fear of getting out and just talking to people about her business idea. If there's one thing I've learned from you, Annie, it's don't just have it in your head. Go out and talk to people about your idea, because you'll get so much information so quickly.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to try, if I may, to share a slide that I've prepared. So just give me a second to see if I actually can get this up and working. Let me know if you can see this. Can you see that?
Yes.
Good. Okay. So when we're thinking of an idea, the first place, and I've worked with, I was a director of entrepreneurship at BCIT here in British Columbia. I've helped Canadian military personnel when they retire to start their own businesses. I speak on entrepreneurship constantly, so this is what I do. Having said that, I come to your audience in a very humble place. I do not know even half of what is available to me. I'm always learning, and I'm hoping that even if the listeners today can hear 1 or 2 things in a slightly different way, it may help them start their own businesses in a better way. So the first of the buckets that we want to take a look at, if we have an idea and we want to sort of figure out, should we actually invest time or money in it, is we want to take a look as what is not just the market, but what is the early success market? So who are the clients that are going to buy from you that are beyond friends and family that will pay you enough money to actually grow your business? A small example of this might be somebody wanting to do home jewelry, create jewelry. And of course, they have their friends and their family who want to support their business. But after they've bought, who else is willing to pay them the $60 or $80 for a pair of earrings that they require to make the money? So what we really take a look at is what is the market that's available early to buy. And I don't know if that's what you specialize in, as an Annie, just sort of talking to people to find out what they think about it.
Yes. And even going to events and see where, the other people, how they're doing it, right? Yeah. Meeting other people that actually making it as a business. You're not the first jewelry maker, no. In there. So there's lots of people that you can ask, and what's the lesson learned from their experience too.
Yeah. And, you know, I like that we get out and talk to people, and we should, but even before that, we can go online. And I had an example of a client in the Canadian military who wanted to start a timeshare for yachts, sailing yachts. So families could actually rent a yacht for a couple of weeks instead of buying one, and they would hire a captain out. They would go, and they wanted to do market research. And so they found somebody out in Vancouver, here on the west coast of Canada, who's already doing that. And so they looked at their website. They could see prices charged. They could see marketing strategies used, packages produced. So a lot of times there's already a successful model for what you would like to do if you look in other geographic or even country areas to find out what's going on. And that is a great way to find out, because if you don't see a market or a business model that's already up and running like that, that means that the market's not ready for your product yet, or that when you do go into the market, you're going to have to spend a lot more time educating the market about your product and service, which is more expensive.
Yes.
So what happened in this case with the timeshare yacht in Halifax? They contacted the timeshare yacht in Vancouver, and they ended up forming a partnership, because sometimes people want to go to the East Coast to sail, sometimes the West Coast, and they all became bigger because they did the market research. So I would encourage listeners to go on to the websites already, query, you know, sending questions to the owners of the website, even contact them and say, listen, I'm living in a different area. I'm not living in Uxbridge. I live in Calgary. I'm thinking of starting a business. Could I ask you a couple of questions? And if you're polite and persistent, okay, be polite and be respectful of their time, you know, at least half the time the entrepreneurs are willing to share some of their success stories with you.
Yes, I was so happy when you decided to be on this summit. It was a cool conversation. At first I was like, oh no, he's not going to be, with this little group that just started up, right? But
so for the audience members here, when I first spoke to Annie, I have to be careful, you know, as we all do with branding, where we associate with, but Annie's passion and determination to provide value for our audience really impressed me. And that's what it's up to you, and it's your credit that you've got this going. So I'm just very pleased to be part of this.
Thank you.
So the first bucket is to do your market research, go online and find out how much people are paying. I started an adventure travel company in the early 1990s to Costa Rica, and I had no idea how much to charge for trips. But I did manage to go online and find out what other companies were, and I could find out that most companies at that point were charging $150 to $175 a day. That gave me a sense of what my costing structure underneath had to be to actually make money. So, so what I'm really saying is spend an hour, you know, researching, a couple of hours maybe talking to people, and that will give you a sense of where that market is or isn't. And if there is not a market there, okay, that's good to know before you spend a lot more time investing on the idea.
Yes, that's interesting. Like, bring back to how I started the expanding the mental math, training children. Initially, it's just teaching children mental math based on the abacus method. And that idea started to evolve and about ideas of helping seniors. So what I did is go out to do my validation. I went into a high-end, actually, senior homes. And I find out that they actually do have a service that is working on helping seniors to exercise their brain. And that idea, what they got was actually also from a children activities that one of their staff suggested. Why don't they try this? It's been helpful with children, helping them with the memories and focusing, and try it on the seniors. So I thought, gee, that retirement company actually has like about 15 locations, and they all uses this exercise. I thought, oh yeah, someone did from children and thinking of moving the exercise to service seniors. Yes.
Right.
So going out to talk to people, it's great.
Yes, and there's nothing that replaces that. And I think you would probably agree. Actually, when we finish recording this, I have a call with another speaker who speaks in a market space that I want to get into. It took me 3 times of emailing him politely to get him to say yes to talk to me. And so don't give up too easily. You know, if somebody doesn't respond to an email, don't go, oh, they're not interested. They could be busy doing other things. Be polite and be persistent. You will get people who will talk to you, especially when you offer something back. So coming out of this first bucket here, the market space, we're trying to get a sense of who will buy from you early and how much will they pay. Okay, so if I was to say, hey, I'd like to sell you a Blockbuster video franchise right now. Yeah, we don't have to go much farther to know that we've missed the market on that kind of one. Okay, right. So we're looking for viable, markets or business models that are already out there. Okay, yes. Bucket number 2 is the money aspect of a business idea. We can have a great business idea, but we really need to take a look. I'm not asking you to do a budget, but I'm asking you to guesstimate 2 numbers here. And the 2 numbers are, what are your startup costs? And those are all the costs that you need to get your business ready to open its digital or real doors. Digital, it could be your web store, website. If it's a physical store, then, the premise and renovations, those types of things. Perhaps a lot of you are doing home businesses, so you might need some extra computer equipment, software, that type of thing to run your business. But what you want to get a sense of here, and the example I use is, I get a lot of people who want to start restaurants. Everybody loves food. And then we start going, well, restaurants on average cost about $100,000 to $200,000 in renovations, even when you find a space. Okay, then you're going to have all your licenses and your food. So you could be looking at $250,000 just to get ready to open your restaurant stores. And I'd ask them, how does that feel for you in your stomach? Are you ready to invest, $250,000? And they go, no, that's way too much. Okay, let's pivot our idea. What if instead of a restaurant, we opened a commercial kitchen or a food truck? Let's say a food truck. You can buy a food truck, renovate it for under $50,000 and be ready to go and run a restaurant on wheels. Does that feel better? And a lot of times people say yes. And they go, when they say no, $50,000 is too much, we can pivot again and we can go, well, we still want to do food. A restaurant's too expensive. A food truck is too expensive. Well, how about we do catering? And all of a sudden we're down to $5,000 or $10,000 to rent a commercial kitchen and get the stuff ready. And they go, that's a good place to start. So what we're trying to do is get a sense of what our startup costs are. And those are costs that you need to spend to get your business ready to go, your website, any marketing collateral you have, any supplies that you have to purchase. And then the second number that we look at is what we call our working capital, our operating money. And that's the money that we continue to have to spend often before we get any revenue coming back in. Okay, so I often use the example of a construction site here. If someone's building a home, let's say the home sells for $1 million and it costs $500,000 to build. Well, the builder stands to make $500,000, the difference between the retail selling price and the cost. But the builder's going to have to pay all the plumbers and the trades and all that equipment long before they receive the $1 million. So in this case, the builder's going to need that $500,000 in working capital to build the home before they get the sale. Just like any small business, we have to be able to pay our bills before our customers actually pay us. So out of this money side of things, Annie, what I'm really looking for is how much does it take for me to get ready to go? And how long could it be before I actually start having money coming in? How much am I going to have to float me until I have money coming in? Yeah,
so the cash flow is important to run a business, right?
Absolutely. And we call that the incubation period. Like, how long does it take a business to generate consistent positive cash flow? If you're running an accounting firm from your home, it might not be very long. If you get 1 or 2 clients coming in, then all of a sudden you don't have a lot of startup expenses. It's your expertise people are hiring, and you could be in positive cash flow in months. If you're manufacturing something, we had a guy who was manufacturing golf carts. His incubation period of positive cash flow was 3.5 years.
Ooh.
He had to take a second mortgage on his house because he had to pay for all the samples to be manufactured and then revised and all the marketing. So you want to get a sense of how long to positive cash flow. And again, you can go back to people who are already in the business and say, listen, here's how I reduced my money, and here's how I got money coming in faster. So talking to existing people like you do, I think is just so important.
Yes.
Okay. Does that help out with the money side, or is there any questions?
Yes, and I think besides, talking to other people is like connect with experts and other people that can give you the different view to, test your market, to give their side of opinion, like
Yes.
To learn from people who have done it before.
Yes. And we recognize that everyone's situation in some ways is probably unique to them, that you aren't exactly like anybody else. But chances are there's some similarities. So if you're opening a restaurant and you have to get a liquor license, for example, and they won't give you a liquor license for 90 days until you pass food safe and all the other things for a restaurant, that's probably going to apply to you. You don't get special treatment from the government. So there's a lot to be learned from those who've already walked in the path.
Yes, there has to be contingency plan when you have like delay in getting permits. Yeah, yes. How do you sustain your business when that happens, right? Absolutely,
and I don't know of a single business that's opened perfectly on time. We entrepreneurs tend to be optimistic and overly aggressive in our sales projections, and we underestimate our costs. And so we want to have that, as you say, contingency plan. If things go a little bit slower, how do we stay alive?
Yes.
Okay. And so the third bucket that we have going on here is, this is called the 4M. So there's a third M, is the me part. And what we're looking for in this business model, and the best way to give it an example is I've had several people want to buy franchises, whether it's a Tim Hortons franchise, a Subway, or some other smaller franchise. And they're going, man, that is a great way to make money. Now, a lot of us would argue that franchising is not real entrepreneurship because you're taking an existing model and just operating it. But the principle's the same with you. If you've never worked in a franchise, you've never got up at 4 a.m. to bake the donuts that are always available at the Tim Hortons, that's what your life is going to be like. So you have to figure out with whatever business idea that you're doing, does it get you excited? Have you done it before so that you will know that you will stay excited? Do you have the skills to actually do what it is that this position needs you to do? And so, let's say you want to run a franchise and you've never worked with people. You've never led a team, and you've got all of a sudden, a crew of 20 teenagers and other people who are in the shop. You know what? That's a significant skill gap. That could trip you up even if the market's there and even if the money's there. So we want to see in this case with you, how much do you love it? And do you have the skills and time to make it work? One example we did have was in the baking realm out here in Vancouver. I had a single mother, and she had children that were 2, 4, and 6. And she was an awesome baker, and she wanted to open her own bake shop. And she was good. She brought in samples, and my mouth's starting to water actually as I think about them now. But what we found out was she had the market and she had the money. So she had the first 2 M's that we've shown here today. Right. But to run a bake shop, she'd have to get up at 4 a.m, bake the stuff, then open the shop at 9 and have them sold throughout the day. She wouldn't get to be mom. And that was really important to her. So it wasn't a good fit.
No.
So what she decided to do was to pivot. She ended up making the baked goods in the morning from 4 to 6 a.m. She would have them picked up and delivered to the bake shops. She sold wholesale. And that way she could be the mom later on in the day. Now, this was about 10 years ago. I can tell you now she does have her own bake shop. Her kids are all at school, have school age, so she can actually get the time for herself. So,
Yes.
yeah.
I just heard so many women after they start having children, they changed their lifestyle. Like they wanted to become an entrepreneur to be able to have that flexibility, to be a mom, you know. And that's exactly how I started the online business back in 1996. Was I was tired of commuting to Toronto as a system consultant, and I believe that I have to create my own business in order to have the type of lifestyle that I wanted to be a good mom. Yes. So that's how it started. I still see it now. It's like 25 years later. I still see a lot of women there. Why they get into entrepreneurship? It's because of wanting to raise a family. You know, to enjoy that lifestyle, being able to be free. Like if your child is sick, I don't have to worry about so many. Like I have to try to get the time off. That kind of thing.
When successful, it's incredibly freeing as a parent, and I'm a parent as well. I have a 25-year-old daughter and a 20-year-old son, and I remember because I was single, raising them for a long period of time, where I'd have them. And I know those pains that go on. So the one thing that you said that resonated with me is I do see a lot of parents, specifically mothers, who get onto a product that they think would make a great business idea because they're using it. And just because we like a product doesn't mean it's a market. So we have to find other people that will continually buy the product that are not us.
Not just from friends or family. That's what the first one to market. That's why I see lots of home-based business, and I think your 4 stages of idea validation really help for those people who wanted to move into the field of entrepreneurship, and they understand, the the lifestyle. Will it change your lifestyle? Like your what you're saying about bakery, like that didn't work with you. Have your young children with you, right? Like you have to choose whether that's the lifestyle you wanted to live.
Yes, and it's interesting because I'm a professional speaker now and I do a lot of traveling, but I'm an empty nester like you. I can go and travel and not have to worry about who's going to take care of the kids, is where 10 years ago, I couldn't do that. So, lifestyle is an important piece of it as well. The other interesting thing I'll just say about all entrepreneurs, regardless of lifestyle, market, you have to be able to work non-normal hours, I'll say. Weekends, evenings, you have to be very flexible. This idea of just opening the office at 9 and closing at 5 usually doesn't get it done. There's just too many things to do, particularly at startup. So you need to have a lot of time to invest.
It's not as glorified as some people not from the entrepreneurship side, seeing that we have, I would go to do my yoga class in the morning, like maybe 10 o'clock, and then someone say, well, why do you have the time? Because I have lots of time, 24 hours within that, right? I might just have I just work at a different time.
Yes, you're still working.
But they don't see it. It's because some people just used to that 9 to 5 schedule, right?
Yes, they are.
So it's also important that besides knowing the market and also generate enough money to make it is a viable business, right?
And knowing that you want to do that business because it's going to be such a large part of you for time to come. And you mentioned a couple of other interesting things there. If somebody's getting into entrepreneurship purely to make more money, I would advise against it. Because if there is significant money to come, they often say, it takes, 7, 8, 9 years to get to mastery where you'll start making money. So if you've got a well-paying job, don't quit that well-paying job. Start your entrepreneurial venture on the side and test it out. So money, by the way, entrepreneurs too take a lot less vacation than most people. So if you're doing it for vacation, and I know I said my lifestyle is very good, but keep in mind, I've been at this for over 20 years. And it's one of those pieces. So you really have to make sure your motivations are known to you. And lifestyle can be a good one. It's still a lot of work though.
Yes, it's important to understand why you started that particular business, right? Because it's not always the good time. During the bad time, you still holding on and continue, right? Otherwise, lots of people start their business and fail within a couple of years, right?
And so here's the fourth bucket I was going to mention to you. And just before I do that, the other thing for listeners here, I think Andy's setting up a great community, because I think perhaps the most important thing for all entrepreneurs, and including me, is to have a mentor, somebody who will be honest and straightforward with you, because our friends and family are going, way to go, Andy, good luck with your venture, we're supporting you all the way. And at some point, we need someone to say, you know what, I've got experience. I don't see this is where you're going to have this challenge. So get a mentor for yourself, just somebody that you can talk to when you've got challenges along the way. Incredibly invaluable. And then 2 or 3 years from now, you'll have enough experience, or maybe you do already, to be a mentor for somebody else, and you can pay it forward. So the fourth bucket I had here is for the 4M filters, the moment. And what that simply means is you have to have all of the 3 other M's in place for a business to work. You have to have the market, you have to have the money, and it has to be a good fit for you. If you happen to have a great market and it's a good fit for you, but you haven't got the money, no business. But if you have the money and it's a great market, but it's not fit for you, So you can use this filtering process, within, I would suggest a couple of hours to take your idea that you have now, figure out what your market is, the money and the me. And if any one of those doesn't work for you, stop. Sometimes the best advice I can give my clients is don't go into that business. If I can save them $10, $20, $50, $100,000 because they're going to waste it in a business that's going to fail, I view that as success. Let's go back, rethink it, and see if it will pass the 4M test. And that's sort of the first stage for any entrepreneurial idea or business expansion idea that you might have.
Yes. Yeah, I think entrepreneurs is always growing. So that's why your talk about these 4 stages of idea validation would be so helpful for startup or even experienced entrepreneurs, because they always come up with new ideas and go through that process. Right? I
have clients who are over $50 million in sales annually. And when they go into new product launches, we take a look at where's the early market, how much money is it going to take to market, and we replace the me with, do we have the people on staff to actually carry this idea forward? So it applies to large and small.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. So thank you so much for all these valuable information for entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurs, whether they startup or experienced, they'll find value in the talk today, I hope. And that's conclude our interview for today. And before I let you go, I would like to know, there is a free gift that you're giving to our audience today.
A free gift for your audience? Well, if they go to my website, which is scottarmstronglimitless.com, there's a video series there on high productivity hacks. So when you're starting out your business, which can be very lonely, it sounds great when no one's telling you what to do, but you talk to entrepreneurs, we still need to talk to people and work with people. So there's a video series there that you're welcome to have.
Thank you. And we will post it along with the video, the link to get the free gift from Scott Armstrong.
Okay. It's been my pleasure, Annie. Thanks very much for having me.